American Primeval took some serious risks in its depiction of life in the Utah Territory. The 6-episode miniseries follows several pioneers and Native Americans as they clash in a real-life war over Utah. The show primarily takes place in 1857, and it was written by Mark L. Smith, Twisters, and directed by Peter Berg, Friday Night Lights. It depicts extremely violent battles, which often devolve into outright massacres. All 6 episodes were released on Netflix on January 9, and they are currently available on the platform. After the show premiered, Berg spoke with Collider about the reality of one particular conflict, the Mountain Meadows Massacre. Berg explained that the attack was a real-world battle and that the Mormon Church recognizes that it was a true event. Rather than glossing over the event, Berg and Smith planned to use it to showcase the rawness, the brutality, and the immediacy of human cruelty. Check out his full and in-depth explanation below what the massacre meant for American Primeval. The massacre revealed the cruelty of humanity. If American Primeval was meant to capture the reality of life in the early days of the Utah Territory, then it would have been difficult to accomplish without depicting the Mountain Meadows Massacre. The conflict initially began when the United States government attempted to expel some of the Mormon influence, which led to a full-scale war. While American Primeval did feature some major changes, as its main characters were fictional, it did depict the brutal massacre honestly. The action, setting, and widespread suffering were all historically accurate. It was still a risk to depict the massacre so brutally. After all, the response from the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints has been mixed through the decades. Members of the Mormon Church today acknowledge the massacre and have attempted to offer some atonement, but that does not limit the risk. The exact events remain somewhat disputed, as do the causes of the battle. A show primarily dedicated to controversial historical events is inevitably risky, even if the show depicted those events well. Our take on American Primeval's massacre, including the massacre, was educational. American soldiers gather on horses. Image via Netflix. The risk did not necessarily pay off for the Netflix show. While audiences enjoyed the show, granting an 87% popcorn meter score on Rotten Tomatoes, critics disagreed. It has a 59% tomato meter score, with critics arguing that American Primeval's various factions are underdeveloped and unlikable. The massacre itself was extremely educational and well done in raising awareness of this event, but Berg may have put too little effort into other scenes. It certainly depicted the horrors of humanity, but the rest of the show needed more focus. In many ways, the issues came because the show began with the massacre so early. Had it focused on character development before the attack, it might have worked better. Instead, it spends much of its time on the aftermath. The characters needed more space to breathe before audiences were thrown into horror. The setting was fascinating and felt truly real, but the characters needed work.